Satya Dharma Reflection on April 26, 2022.
Let the essence be shared simultaneously so that one can release all the characteristics that being specific within oneself, within the body, the mind, within senses, within looking, seeing and knowing, within feelings, within sensations, within emotions, so much specific within oneself for so many Buddha eras. So much being specific within delusion, desire, delusive attachment. That's why it turns into misleading that it is truly oneself. This is too much being specific. That's why it turns into wrong understanding, misleading as real self. Like this truly, like that truly. Knowing truly, knowing not truly. Seeing truly or not. Understanding truly or not. This is all about delusion. All these kind of being deluded to be specific since the past. Let's purify it simultaneously through the uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, internally and externally simultaneously, so that it will be all ended. All this delusion to be specific is a lot, being specific through the desire, delusion and delusive attachment. That turns into selfishness, being for the sake, to have, to be, to live, for the sake of, for the sake of, for the sake of oneself, on and on. That which has nothing to do with the mind or disregarding, simultaneously with all and everything, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, all the same towards all things. So that it will purify all that delusion to be specific through the desire, delusion and delusive attachment. Being deludedly specific until it's misleading that the self is substantial, that is real. Uninvolved with the disregarding simultaneously. All the same for the internal and the external. It's not about anything within the uninvolved itself, simultaneously for the internal and the external. This will purify the karmic habits of being specific with looking, seeing and knowing, and one's own viewpoints. All traditional viewpoints, all values within all and everything, this is extremely severe symptoms. This is already coma symptom. Why is it so? Because this kind of possessiveness is still a lot already. When there is given values to anything within any form of things, it will turn into possessiveness and concern with all those ways, within all those traditions and customs, within all those familiarities, within lifestyles. There will be concern and possessiveness. This is the kind of dark emotions. Too many concerns, too many possessiveness. Therefore, all about traditional values, personally or as a whole, is already coma symptom, extremely severe symptom. This is called big delusion, big delusive attachment. Therefore, disregard, even from the disregard itself, all the same for all and everything, so that it will not be about attachment or detachment all the same. So that it will not be anything within being attached or detached all the same. This will not spread towards the belief values until it becomes like a slave to the belief values. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, all the same for the internal and the external. This will purify the servants of the belief values in all forms, whether it's inside or outside, whether it's being deluded to any values towards anything within any certain Dharma. All the formed up of Dharma is being fixated, and this is being fixated from by the delusive attachment. It becomes the belief values in Dharma, which turn into possessiveness in Dharma, being concerned with Dharma. What is there to sustain the Dharma for? Dharma is not Dharma. This is the Anatta Dharma, the Dharma that is not fixated even to itself. Why sustain suchness, which has nothing to do with sustenance to itself? This is a coma symptom. This is already having to do with possessiveness and concern, turning into a length of time within realm of existence, no matter how long it is, 10,000 of years, 100,000 of years, or eons of times in realms of existence. This is so heavily stickiness, possessiveness, concerning, and ongoing sustaining it. Just like all people who are possessive to one's own stuff, always guarding. They are asked to guard, then just guard. This is falling into the wolf realms, becoming like animals because of the possessiveness emotions. Uninvolved, even within the uninvolved itself, all the same for the internal and the external. With this, it will purify all the delusion to involve all the belief values, whether it is internally or externally. Beginning from the single-mindedness, all the perceptions for the internal and the external, it will turn into uninvolved all the same. Let there be the simultaneous purification for all. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, has to be simultaneous so that it will purify the delusion to aim within the body, within the mind, in whatever forms. This is the specific delusion, desire, and delusive attachment. All this being specific of the delusion within the body and the mind, all that is boundless, becoming limited because of being specific. There is too much delusion in it. It's become narrow and narrow and narrow, on and on. From that which is without limits, without boundaries, as it is, it turns into having boundaries, being limited because of being specific. The mind turns into more narrow on and on until it's just blocked within the single-mindedness, narrow and narrow and narrow, further and further into narrowness, that which is boundless as it is. Even expansiveness is not the way. Why being narrow? For what? To be limited with certain extent for what? Disregard, even from the disregard itself simultaneously, for the internal and the external. This will dissolve all the narrowness all by itself. This is giving up the delusive attachment internally and externally. Uninvolved, even within the unvolved itself, all the same simultaneously for the internal and the external. Let it be simultaneous. Already said, the enlightenment and the blessing has to be one in that one sentence. Cut through internally and externally simultaneously to help samsara simultaneously within one sentence. This will be beyond narrowness or expansiveness. This is the boundlessness. It will have no boundaries, it will be no limits. That which have no steps as they are. To be deludedly specific, therefore there are a lot of steps. That's why it's struggling. It's an obstruction. Steps are obstructions within themselves, turning into having all that practices, all that ways and methods is an obstruction in itself. Being deluded to circling in steps. This is the result from being specific. Being specific through the desire, delusion, and delusive attachment. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Internally and externally, all together simultaneously. Let it be beyond opening. Beyond opening normally. This is not just opening eyes and ears normally. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, all the same. You know, all this opening of the eyes and ears, it will be beyond itself. It will be boundless, which is for purification of the emptiness. To be stuck with just eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. To be limited with just the delusive attachments as usual. To be stuck with just narrowness or expansiveness. This is not yet dissolve the delusive attachment which is dominated as usual. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Uninvolved even from within the uninvolved itself. All the same and simultaneously. Again and again, you are being told, nothing is in being the same. Simultaneous, that is not anything within being simultaneous. It is the purification of the extinction and the emptiness that is simultaneously given. No grasping, even a non-grasping itself, simultaneously. Nothing in being simultaneous. It's not about grasping. Then it will be opening towards the blessing from now on. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, to be given all the same, simultaneously towards the physical world and samsara. all the sentient beings. This will be simultaneous purification for the internal and the external, for the blessing, and that being blessed will be purified simultaneously through the emptiness without traces. That there be all the same, that which is uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, uninvolved even within the uninvolvement itself, to be shared simultaneously towards the climate, the four elements of earth, air, water, and fire, all that formed up or not formed up of elements. To be shared simultaneously all the same without discrimination or being deluded to distinguish anything. Otherwise, one will be stuck with just distinguishment or discrimination. When there is a lot of that, it will turn into having hesitation in itself. Let there be the sharing of the essence all the same without discrimination or distinguishing of anything, uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. With this, it will dissolve the karmic habits of binding, of being deluded to fixate and to hold on. It is called karma. The karma, which is the habit, karmic habits. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself, all the same. The whole samsara, they are being fixated to the delusion, to fixate and to hold on, always individually having this kind of delusion, to be possessive, to be concerned, to be fixated. Uninvolved even within the uninvolved itself. Let's not be obsessed with just each one on one's own way. Let's not be deludedly, obsessively getting into each one on one's own way, each one on one's own practice. Let's not be obsessed to become a being or being samsara within oneself, on and on. Uninvolved even within the uninvolvement itself, so that it will cease the beingness and being samsara. Disregard even from the disregard itself. Cut through the cutting itself, cutting within the cutting itself, cutting the cutter itself, all the same with everything. This is not be obsessively being deluded to progress and deteriorate and decline on and on. For what? Disregard even from the disregard itself, so that there is no significance and involvement within progression and declination. This will be aligned with Nibbana as it is, Nibbana that is meaningless in itself, Nirod that is not about anything within itself as it is. To be obsessed within anything is always be samsara, on and on. Always significance and meanings and involvement within Nirodha and Nibbana. This is giving meanings and significance to things. Always samsara, whether it's in length or short, it's still samsara as usual. The disregard is not about anything within itself to be given all the same with everything. It's not about even the personhood who is going to say no or reject anything. Disregard is not about anything within itself to be given all the same. With this, there will not be no one who is discreetly no to anything, which is samsara, that is coming back to oneself. Disregard, even from the disregard itself, it will purify those who is trying to disregard or not, for both. Be bold, continue to be bold, to share the essence within the deliberate cut through within itself in all things.